Hello, welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Mashbitz. Professor Anthony.
How you doing?
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
I'm quite excited for this conversation for many reasons, but I think one being, which we just sort of briefly touched on before we started recording, that you have accomplished two things that are absolutely unbelievable. One being an Army Ranger, and two earning a black belt Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes.
Most people sort of attempt those things, but don't get to the place that you got to.
Yes.
So one, I wanted to have this conversation with you because one, whenever I do see you, we don't get a lot of time to chat because we're training, we're rolling, we're moving, you're teaching, I'm trying to learn, whatever.
Yep.
And two, because I think you have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
I already know that as you're a coach for me in Jiu-Jitsu and a professor, but I think now in a sort of a longer form conversation, maybe I can pull some nuggets of wisdom out of you as to how you got to this point in your life.
Absolutely.
So before we get to all of that, the meat and bones, I have one very specific question to ask you.
Yep.
It's the theme of this podcast.
All right.
How are you doing? Really, how are you doing?
This week, me and you, last 2 weeks, I think we've been both, going very hard at Jiu-Jitsu, and the class has been extremely tough. I think that has, for today, right now, has made me a better person because of that struggle, because of those hard classes. Nothing else right now in my life seems harder than what we did. Just day to day, waking up, make sure my clothes are ready to go, make sure my gym bags are packed, make sure I have classes set up. I think that struggling in those classes mentally and emotionally made today easier. So I'm doing good.
Yeah, the super cool idea of voluntarily doing hard things.
Roger.
To make everything else in life a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because as you know, life will beat you down.
Oh, it will. And it will not stop.
And it's not going to stop.
Nope.
But if you can sort of armor yourself with anything you possibly can to help combat some of those really hard times, like doing jiu-jitsu or going for a run or hitting the sauna or taking a cold shower or having a workout, whatever the case may be, not that life is going to be sunshine and rainbows, but you're going to be more mentally capable to handle those moments and pick yourself up over and over and over and over and over.
And I think that's a big part, is picking yourself up. Where do I go from here now that I've hit bottom? How do I pick myself up? Where do I start? Where do the pieces start putting back together? Right. Absolutely.
So now let's circle all the way back for you.
All right.
How old are you right now?
Oh, 43.
Do you feel like you're 43?
I don't.
You feel younger or older?
Feels like I'm 60 at times. At times. Getting myself out of bed is sometimes hard, but it's okay. It is okay.
Is that just because of injuries, wear and tear?
Wear and tear. Just longevity of 20 years in the military, and doing this for the past 17 has, taken a little toll, but, I accept it.
Yeah.
I accept the soreness. I accept the, being awkward in some positions, because I accept because of what I've done, and it is okay.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So then, with all that said, let's circle back to why you decided to join the military. Was there a spark? Was there an inspiration?
So one day in Hawaii, going to middle school, JROTC from the high school came, and they were rappelling off of the building. And I saw them on the ropes. They were jumping off.
At your high school they were doing that?
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And so I was all like, I want to do that. I came home to my mom that day and I said, Mom, this is what I want to do. I want to jump off buildings with ropes and all this stuff. And she's all like, go for it. Huh. And so I joined in high school. I did ROTC or JROTC and fell in love with it. And then the first sergeant there, the instructor, was all like, hey, you're going to go in the Army. You're going to go in the Army. He's like, you're going to do this job, and that's what you're going to do. I didn't question it. I said, okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm going in the Army. This is what I'm going to do. And that's what I did.
Huh.
So he kind of had my glide path. He's like, I looked up to him, who he was. And, he took care of me in high school, looked after me. But he's like, hey, this is what you're going to go do. And I said, okay. And I took it and I ran with it.
Wow.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Why did you not seem to question his decision for you?
Because I saw him take care of me. He took care of me as far as, hey, is all your homework done for these classes? Have you done the right thing? You were late to class. Why? He held me accountable for my actions. And it was good to have that because I was growing up over in Hawaii with my brothers and sisters, my mom. It was just us. And so, he was kind of like a father figure, looking up to him. And so, but he took care of me. He was making sure I did the right stuff.
He added some structure to your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've been thinking about this idea a lot. So because you mentioned role models. And we always think about, as young people, we want to have these strong role models, what to be like.
Yes.
Do you think it's also beneficial to have people in your life like the reverse role models?
1,000%.
Not to be like.
1,000%. Yes. Coming up in the Army, I saw leaders that were doing the wrong thing. Even with 10 or 15 soldiers, hey, we're going to do this. Well, that kind of seems backwards. Like we didn't get the job done or we failed. You kind of learn what not to do. And I saw that their leadership was, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to act like that. I'm not going to do what he did. And I added that to my toolbox. And I think it's very, very important to identify that because you can only look for the good stuff, but you need to know what the bad stuff is also, so that you don't fall in that pit.
Right.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, I think having both of those in your life is important, but I think the reverse role model is more prevalent for people.
Roger.
Because obviously people don't grow up in perfect situations and perfect families and all of these things, right? So they're around more people they shouldn't potentially be like.
Yeah.
So they take those, and then like this instructor you had, you're like, oh, that's who I could be like too, and then you sort of mesh those two things together and try to, articulate or become the best version of yourself.
Best version of myself, yeah, absolutely.
Whatever that may be.
Yep.
So you decided to join the Army right after high school.
Yeah, 10 days after high school, I was gone.
10 days.
10 days.
Wow. Yep. And your mom was all in. She was ready. She was a bit scared.
She was scared.
Yeah.
She was scared, but she's like, "Hey, this is the best for you. Go for it. Do your best." So.
And you knew you wanted to be a ranger, or you just knew you wanted to be in the Army?
So I didn't quite know what a ranger was. I knew what it was because of being in JROTC. You hear about special forces. You hear about rangers. But you never quite knew what rangers were. Right. So I didn't really know. I just knew the word ranger. And so
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So I went through. I became a combat medic. Yep. So I was. I would go out with the recon, or they'll go out with the infantry, and if anybody got shot or hurt, they would go and treat them right then and there, right on the battlefield. Wow. So you do life-saving techniques. Bandage gunshot wounds, broken bones, everything.
And you're doing that just right in the middle of it all?
Yep, roger.
Whoa.
Yep. So, yeah, got to be able to multitask and keep cool heads. And so, yeah.
Sheesh. What sort of training do you have to do for that?
So you go to Fort Sam and you learn EMT, you become out of EMTB. You learn CLS, combat life-saving skills, trauma, how to treat, broken bones, how to give IVs, pretty much general all life-saving techniques, minus surgeries.
Minus
Roger.
Okay. And you did that the whole time you were in?
No, so I did it for 8 years. Okay. I did training in 2000 at Fort Sam. Then I got my first duty station was at Fort Hood, Texas. From 2000 to 2005, I was with Division Recon. There's a movie called We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson. Okay. That was of my unit.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so the 17 Cav, who that film was about, was now a Division Recon unit with tanks, Bradleys now. And so I was a medic for them. I went to Iraq in 04 to 05, then came back and I volunteered, re-enlisted overseas. And then I was like, hey, I want to go to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. It was kind of a break. They do basic training there. And that's when I saw hand-to-hand combat. And I was like, I want to do that. And that was my first experience to Jiu-Jitsu and Judo and wrestling and everything. So, yeah.
What was being in Iraq like? It's almost 20 years ago now.
Man, it was interesting. Every day was something new. You quite didn't know what was going to happen to you. So you just kind of put your head down and do what you have to do. Go out on missions, if it's helping out with the community, whether you're trying to go out and find bad guys. So yeah, every day was just something new, and you just, you get your task, you get your mission, and you go out and do the best of your abilities.
Do you think that there's something that like a regular civilian like myself doesn't comprehend about war? Like I that's not a great question, but like I don't comprehend any of it.
Yeah.
But is there something that there's a big misconception about, or something that we should know, or something that we just are blind to?
It's not really why we're there. It's for us. It's for the person that's on the left and right of us. You may not get along. You may not like each other. Regardless of what your views are on certain things, it's you and I, and that's what it's all about. You put your differences aside. You may have had an argument about something. That really doesn't matter. When you're there, all that goes aside, and it's about you and me, the person beside you.
Caring about the person next to you.
That's what it's all about. So you're not quite, there for what the news says or whatever the case may be. All that just goes away. It's just about the person on left and right and get the job done. Yeah.
How do we carry that sense of love for one another into the real world? Because you can't. I come from a sports background, baseball, right? It's not as deep as brotherhood as the military, but I'm playing with these guys every day, and I care about the person to the right and to the left of me. And when I left sport, it was very hard for me to find that sense of community again.
Roger.
Obviously, all people in the military have that all the time. It's a huge issue.
Yeah.
People in sport have that all the time. So where do I go in the real world where I can find that sense of community and love, where I know that the person next to me, we may not have voted for the same person, whatever, but if I'm in the trenches and I call them, they're gonna be. They're not even gonna ask me what it's about.
Roger.
They're just gonna be there.
Yep.
And then they're gonna ask me what it's about.
Yeah. Right.
Right. But I like. How do we deepen that sense of community in the real world? Like in jiu-jitsu, we have it a little bit.
We do.
Yeah. I don't hang out with everyone from jiu-jitsu, but I feel like if I called Wade just randomly, dude, I need you.
Yeah.
He would show up. I think he would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And so I think a lot of people are missing that in their life. They feel like they have no one to go to. They don't have a community, a home, a support system. So. And there's not a question here I'm asking, but maybe if you have any insight on how you did it when you left the military, or how we can do it, or what people may go about doing it.
Yeah. So when I left, I retired 2020. 1 July was my first day as a civilian. And 20 years and 15 days, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have, my phone stopped ringing. And that was very... concerning to me, because now nobody needed me. Nobody needed my help. And for somebody in the military, for that to happen as a leader, that was kind of your thing, to help. And that's when I went and found it. I was like, hey, I got to get out. I got to do jiu-jitsu, because that was my mental escape for my behavioral health. That was my outlet. And I think that if you find something that you are obsessed with, and your drive is going there, that you will bond with those people, and you'll make those bonds that will, go over to your life, normal life, and help and support. Yeah. I think it's just, I don't want to say suffering, but you gotta, grind together.
Right.
And that would help bring people together.
Yeah, I think if you're doing an easy task together.
Yeah. No. Let's stack these boxes up,
Like you still can be friends.
Yeah.
Right? You still might be homies, but it's a much different idea than
when you're on the ground, you gave it everything you got, and you reach down, you pick that guy off the ground, you're like, okay, hey, come on, stand up with me. You're good.
Right.
You're okay. I think that's the bond. That is, that quote unquote brotherhood of bonding. Yeah. To where you feel that, if I have nothing left, somebody's gonna help me get up. And just like in jiu-jitsu, hey, let me help you get up. Come on. Pick those people off the ground. Right. Absolutely.
All right, we fast forwarded just a little bit.
Yep.
Because I got on a community tangent. But we're back in Fort Jackson now.
Yep.
And did you switch jobs when you got to Fort Jackson, or you still were a combat?
So as a combat medic, we would go out and provide any type of trainee that may have gotten a cold, would give them a cold pack, some Sudafed, some Motrin and stuff. And so then I'd provide medical coverage at high-risk ranges. Where they're throwing grenades, we'd provide medical coverage there in case somebody got hurt.
So you're going in there while people are throwing grenades?
We're sitting on top of a tower watching them.
Oh, okay.
And watching them throw the pin, drop their grenade and run. Jeez. So sometimes they do it backwards. But so we provide coverage just in case anybody got hurt. And there I wanted something different, and they're like, hey, we'll give you $30,000 if you want to switch your job to one of these jobs that don't have a whole lot of people in it.
Like extra 30?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was all like, what's the job? And there's like, supply. I was like, supply? What is that? They're like, oh, you get papers and pencils and you hand it out to people. And I was all like, you're going to give me $30,000 to switch, to do that? And they're like, yeah. And I said, done. Done. Because when I was over in Iraq, I've checked the block. I did everything. I saved lives. I treated everybody. I kind of did everything. So I was kind of like,
hunted down the bad guys.
I'm good, And so I felt, hey, it's a time to change the pace. Let me change it up, because of, I saw some of the nightmares and stuff like that. I was like, well, I've already did that. I think I'm good.
You were having some of those nightmares?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I didn't quite really know what was going on at the time. I just thought it was, just regular. I'm having a nightmare, So I wasn't really quite sure what was happening, the full spectrum of everything, PTSD and everything. So yeah.
So the back half of your career was a little lighter than the front half.
Yes. Until I switched over, went to the Rangers. So,
so you had a third position.
Yes. So when I was at Fort Jackson, I saw combatives, what they were doing. I was like, I want to do that. And so that's when I I took the course, which is a 1-week course, which taught you, how to escape the mount, pass the guard, learn some chokes. It's 1-week course. And then I did the second week course, which is 2 weeks. And, you're learning triangle chokes, some judo throws. And I was like, I love this. And so I was like, how do I become an instructor? And so the instructors, I would show up every day. Every day I would go and just sit on the mats and just watch the class.
Wow. And
they were just all like, hey, you're always here. Come over here and roll with everybody. So I would jump into class and roll with people. And then I'd do it the next day. And the next day, every day that I had time off, I was always at that gym, sitting on the mats and just watching. And then I'd keep jumping into class and they were like, hey, you're always here. Let's talk to your boss and see if we can get you pulled over to be one of us. And so I became an instructor and, then I started fighting MMA. I started that career. And I just kind of took it and ran with it. I just wanted more.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you had no introduction to any of that stuff before you got to Fort Jackson?
Right. I didn't know, we heard of the UFC.
Right.
I was like, I didn't pay attention to it. Really quite didn't, I was like, whatever. But I wish I did. I wish I paid attention, like everybody else that got onto the train back in the 90s, but I didn't. And I was like, okay. But then when I saw it in 2005, I fell in love with it. I was like, that's what I want to do. So.
You became obsessed.
Yeah. Yep. It became an obsession. Yep.
It's like, yeah, it sort of has to be, right?
Yeah.
If you want to do anything at a really high level.
Yes.
But people see that word obsession and they take it with a negative connotation.
Yes. I heard a good quote that said that you will be misunderstood when you're obsessed with something. You'll be, and I see that, and I saw that, when I reflect back, and I was obsessed, and I was all like, people are like, why do you do that? Why do you do it so much? How come? You can barely walk. Why are you still, I'm obsessed. I want to be better, Even though I can't move my right arm, I'm still trying to do something, making myself better, that 1%.
Right. And those that don't have that undeniable passion for something will get it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
No fault, right? You just haven't found your thing yet. Because I think everyone can be obsessed with that one thing that really lights up their whole body.
Oh, yeah.
hopefully it's a productive, healthy thing.
Roger. Yeah.
For me, for a long time, it was baseball, right? Then it became professional wrestling. And now I think I'm obsessed with jiu-jitsu.
It happens.
It's cool because, you feel like even when you're sore, you're tired, you don't want to do it, but you feel like you want to there's something bigger that's telling you to just get up.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And have you ever read Atomic Habits?
No.
It's just a book by James Clear about habits. And he basically says you have to master the art of showing up. And once you've mastered the art of showing up, then from there it's like, well, you can optimize and tweak anything you want because you know you're going to show up.
Yeah.
If you're not going to show up, you can't optimize anything. You can't get better at anything because you haven't shown up yet.
Right.
But if you master that art, then it's like, cool. What can we do from here? Like you said, 1%, 1%, 1%.
Yeah. Just walk through the door.
Yeah, especially at this facility and at Royal Art, right? If you walk through the door, someone's going to help you get
Something's going to happen. Yep, absolutely.
All right, so then you became obsessed with basically martial arts.
Yes. Yep, I was doing everything. I was going to different gyms. I was,
Still working for the Army, though.
Yeah. So my whole job was just to teach fighting. We had our own gym. We had everything, heavy bags, Thai bags, everything. We had a staff, and every week we would get new people to come in, new soldiers that would run through the course, and just fell in love. And then we would always have, black belts that were joining the Army, and then we would get them to come to the gym. We would be able to roll with them. We'd have wrestlers that were coming into the Army. We'd get a chance to roll with them. So it was a kind of a big opportunity that was just kept rolling through the doors for us. And I just took it and I used every bit I could.
And you're doing striking, grappling, all the above?
Everything. So.
And then when did you decide that you wanted to actually compete?
Just one day.
Just one day?
One day. I was just sitting at my desk with the other instructors like, I want to go fight. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And they're like, well, where do we start? And so I went on the Google machine and just put MMA matches, in South Carolina. And then up popped it's called the ISCF, which had like all the registered fighters and everything. And on there it had just a huge amount of open tournaments. Oh, not open tournaments, I'm sorry, open MMA fights. We're like, hey, we're looking for male, females of this weight classes. And so I just I copied everybody's email addresses, the promoters, put them on an email. And I said, hey, I'm a soldier and this is my weight. This is how long I've been training. Would love to be on your card. Sent. And right then, boom, just started getting contacts.
Really?
Yeah. There's like, hey, we'd love to come to Virginia. We want you to come to Georgia, Louisiana. And so I was like, okay. So we just kind of picked one. Like, hey, let's take this one here in Georgia. And like, okay, let's get ready for it.
How'd you train for that?
Daily. Hard. Just mixing it all up because we didn't know what to expect. You train stand-up as much as you can. You train your wrestling. You train your jiu-jitsu. And just do everything you can, 110% and then some. And give it everything you got. And it was bad. It was rough. But being in the military, we had access to swimming pools. You had access to gyms. You had access to personal trainers. So it was, because soldiers are certified in those things. We were able to utilize our certifications to help us.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then fight number one. What was that like? Nerves?
It was, extremely nervous. Didn't quite know what to expect.
Is this like an open weight class at this point?
No, I was 185 and I fought at 170.
Oh, you got lean.
Yeah, I was a skinny
you're like what? You're like 205 now, aren't you?
215-ish now.
215-ish.
So it was an experience. It was being able to go down there and face my fears. And, there's nothing like being locked in a cage with looking across another guy that's ready to punch you in the face and knock you out. So you got to be able to match with him. So, yeah. So, but I won by triangle choke, and that was the spark of it. That just made me, okay, we can actually do this.
Yeah.
And just keep going.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I always think about with like MMA fighters, the level of intensity you have to have, but also at the same time you have to be extremely calm.
Controlled chaos.
I love that, just that dichotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell my baseball players it's about having relaxed intensity.
Yeah.
Because they're young, it's obviously not the same as being in a cage with another grown man who's trying to hurt you.
Yeah. But the nerves and
But you want to be intense when you play, but also like it's like nothing. Like, oh, this is cool. Yep. Then like, oh, what's up? You know? But with a fighter, it's like ranched up to another level. Because you have to be willing to inflict a serious amount of violence on someone else, but also be in total control of it.
Roger. Yep. And training that. You know, and hey, you bring in hard sparring partners that can actually take a punch, and and you try to match it. You try to make sure that overwhelming of chaos at that moment. You try to replicate it in your training, and that way when it happens in the fight, you've already been there before. Like, okay, I've already had this guy on top of me, hitting me, punching me, elbowing me. I've been here. It's okay. Let me get out. Because you don't want to experience something in the cage that you have not trained for.
Right.
So you always try to replicate that chaos.
Yeah.
So kind of like Jiu-Jitsu, right? Like, we're going to start from the rear mount. Okay, this guy's got my back.
Right.
But that way, you're learning your defense. You're comfortable in there. That way, when it happens in a tournament, I've been here before. It's okay. I'm all right. I'm not going to die from this. He's not going to choke me out. So yeah, so you just try to replicate it.
Yeah. And then how many fights did you have? Or how many fights have you had?
What am I, 10-4? So, yeah.
In MMA?
Yeah.
Specifically?
Yep. I was ranked 64 in the nation.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Sheesh.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, I knew you were a bad man, but...
Oh, yeah.
But a very nice guy.
Very nice. Yeah.
So
even though I look mean, everybody's like, "Oh, you look so rough," and
really,
yeah. But I'm like, I'm the nicest guy.
Is it because your ears? They think
I think the
rough?
Ears and
I think your
bald
face in general
and,
looks very nice.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You always smile when people walk in the door.
Right.
You always say hi.
Yeah. I think because the mats, and rolling is something different than being a nice guy sometimes.
Well, of course, you're an athlete. You know how to flip a switch.
Right, so I think they kind of just take that and turn that over to how you normally are. So everybody's kind of
standoffish.
Yeah, but I'm like, hey, I'm the nicest guy, I promise.
Yeah, you're lovely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sweetheart.
Yep.
But interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, thinking back on your career in the military, was there any mention while you're in the military of your mental health or taking care of that? What was some of that stuff like?
There were always. Asking, hey, you guys, anybody having issues? There was always like programs. We'd always have people come talk to us in large group settings, but none of us really wanted to. Nobody really wanted to come up and say, hey, I'm having nightmares, because they don't want to be like, oh, what's wrong with you? Are you the weak link here?
Right.
Not knowing that that's strong to do that. It's strong to come up and say that you needed help. But of course I was that one person that, no, I'm an MMA fighter. I have all of these, boom, 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 accolades, I don't need that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely was wrong.
Do you think there could be more of an emphasis on it?
I think they do a good job. The parts that I've seen when I was in, that they were always asking. They were always trying to get out to us, to talk to us. There was always a way of communication to get help.
Right.
It's just the individual just taking that pill and stepping up and doing it.
Yeah.
Coming up on the net and like, hey, I need some help.
Right.
Before it gets too out of hand.
Yeah. So. Because if you frame it in a way that if you start to prioritize, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, all of that, it only just makes you a better version of you.
Absolutely.
But there's obviously been a stigma for a really long time around our mental health that if you have any sort of issue whatsoever, you're just this like weak person and you can't be trusted with anything. But instead, if you connect with people, talk about how you feel in certain settings, right? It's not for all settings all the time, but in certain environments, and then you prioritize that mental health, physical health, all of that stuff, you become a better version of yourself. A better soldier, a better MMA fighter, a better dad, a better friend.
1,000%.
And so I think if it's switching to that now, like with all the work that people are doing, but I think in some of these really intense professions, like the military, we have to be you have to do a certain type of thing that the normal person is not capable of doing, probably.
Roger.
That still needs a little work because it's sort of you're kind of towing a very fine line, right? We're going to war at some point.
Yep.
And so we have to be able to do that still. But when people come back from that, we have to have a way to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, to decompress.
Because losing a bunch of veterans to suicide is the most heartbreaking thing of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I was listening to a podcast the other day about it, and it's called the 7X Project. These former Navy SEALs are running 7 marathons on 7 different continents in 7 days.
Oh, nice.
For veteran mental health.
Nice.
And they're raising money, and I'm like, wow. One, I don't know if I could do 1 marathon in 7 days. Right. These guys are beasts. But they were talking about, you know, how more veterans have died by suicide than in actual combat in the last long time.
Yeah, I think it's like 22 a day. That's what it is. I know that there's organizations like Mission 22 that tries to help combat veteran health and the suicides.
Yeah, and I think a lot more people are talking about it and doing it and asking for help and saying that it's important and giving it to the people in the military now so they can be their best selves, that when they go into be a civilian or they hang out with their wife or their kids, you know, it's that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so
absolutely.
But all right, now let's talk about what you learned from being in the military. Lessons, tactics, leadership skills, things you want to pass on, things you still use today.
One adaptability. Adaptability. Because in the military, you know, you may have additional tasks, additional jobs. So you might have your job, let's just say supply, but you're going to be tasked to do ranges, running gun ranges. You may be tasked to be a sexual assault advocate. You know, so somebody they've been sexually assaulted, they come to you. So you have to be able to wear different hats. And I think coming outside the military into the civilian, that I'm able to adapt to different environments. That whatever, you know, the environment here in this gym is different than the environment at Royal. So I'm able to adapt into those settings and be comfortable where I'm at. So I'm able, you know, you're able to see or read the room better and be able to be comfortable and, you know, talk or teach or whatever the case may be, whatever you're doing, your mission is, you're able to adapt to those situations. And I think that is one of the best things I took out.
Being adaptable.
Being adaptable.
Amazing.
And being okay with it.
Yeah.
Even though it's uncomfortable, but you're still adapting. You're okay. You know?
I mean, yeah, it's like, how do you get to a point where you can be comfortable being uncomfortable?
Absolutely.
And that's basically what we talked about the whole time, right? Doing stuff that makes you uncomfortable.
Yep.
And then trying it voluntarily.
And keep coming the next day to do it again.
Yeah, it has to be voluntary. If it's not voluntary, then you're something bad is happening to you, and that's not good.
Roger.
Then that's uncontrollable and unpredictable, and you need help and whatever it is. But if you're voluntarily doing it, then it's a different situation.
You're accepting it, and
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're facing your fears. And when you do that, they say that you don't get less scared, but you get more brave, and that apparently there's a big difference. Yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, what else? Adaptability was one. Anything else that comes to mind?
Just being a leader, I think. That just stepping up and being that one person that kind of sticks out a little bit. That, you know, taking charge, taking ownership of things. You know, like leading the class. You know, hey, I'm in front. This is me. I'm taking charge of the class. We're going to start our warm-ups. This is what we're going to do. And then teaching the technique. You know, hey, I'm in charge. You know, you got the structure of the class, and you hold everybody to the standard of the class. You know, you're teaching and you're taking control. And I think that is, you know, some things that people have never led before or never had the opportunity to lead anybody or be in front of a class. And I think that being in the military, we're always teaching from day one. Once you're taught something, you're able to go back and regurgitate and teach the next person below you that same job. And I think that learning how to be a leader, how to teach, and coming here on the outside is, you know, very easy for us, or easy for me to teach, because I've been doing it since I was 18 years old. So I think leadership, being okay to be up front, taking ownership, responsibility, accountability, what I'm doing is huge.
Yeah.
And I don't think a regular civilian gets the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you're in that field, you know. But not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah, unless they're actively trying to put themselves in those situations.
Right.
Yeah, and then of course you've built a large sense of confidence in yourself because of that.
Yeah, because I failed already. I failed before teaching. I failed already at doing something, you know. So now I know what not to do. Or I've seen somebody fail at it, so I already know what not to do because he fell in that pitfall, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing about being a leader, right? It's a public facing thing, and you're in front of people. Yep. And you don't just know how to be a leader and then you're good to go, right? You have to start leading people and literally fall flat on your face where the group of people you're trying to lead are looking at you like, we're not, why would we follow you to do anything?
Right.
And then you're like, okay, I got to figure out my message. I got to figure out what I'm saying. Do my words line up with my actions? Am I communicating effectively? Do I feel like I'm embodying those words, or am I just saying stuff to say stuff?
Right.
And then you figure it out as you go. But you know, like when I started doing this podcast, I didn't know how to ask a question, you know, without cutting someone off or like talking over them or talking too much or whatever the case may be. Is you just learn, and people can go and look back at all those episodes and be like, yeah, those are bad. And I'm like, yes. That's why they're still there for the public to watch. So when someone's like, oh, I want to start a podcast, good, start it. You're going to be really bad. Start it. You want to start jiu-jitsu? Good, you're going to be really bad.
You're going to be really bad.
You want to be a leader? Good. Lead yourself first. And see how that goes. Start doing the things you want other people to do. And act like that best version, act like that leader, and then people will follow you before they follow the message. And then what's your message? Well, then you have to think about it that deeply, like what your values are and all that stuff. But anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you've learned over 20 years to be a leader. So what do you think, what sort of qualities or characteristics does a good leader have? Or what do you have that makes you a good leader?
I think because I start at the bottom, right? You always start at the guy that's pushing the broom. You always start with the guy with the mop, you know? So you lead by example. So you always say that, you know, never do as I do, not as I say. So if you see me mopping, I mopped as a leader, then you should be able to mop as the lowest person.
Right.
So always lead by example. Always put yourself out there so they can see that you do it first.
Right.
And that way they build the confidence in you. Okay, hey, my leader is picking up trash. He's picking up a cigarette butt off the ground. I should probably be able to do that too. You know, and always just set the example. And if you do it, your subordinate should be able to do it. So make sure you're always on your P's and Q's and always doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, no one's going to lead somebody that, you know, walks into a wall. You know, like you navigate around it. Okay, here. You know, it's always take care of your men. Always taking care of that person below you.
Yeah.
You know, which I saw a lot of people that would allow their soldiers, you know, I don't want to say be abused, but, you know, like, hey, give me for him task. You know, hey, you know, he's your hard worker guy. Hey, give me him. So I'm going to use him to go clean up brass or go mop the floors or something like that. You know, I would never allow that. You know, I was like, hey, nope, you're not using my guy. What do you need him for? You know, I'd always take care of my guys.
Right.
Always. And I think that also builds that trust and confidence within the leadership. So, you know, always put yourself, never put yourself first, but always take care of your bottom guys. Your lowest guys, always take care of them. Set the example for them.
Doesn't it also make it important that if you fall short as a leader, your people underneath you are forgiving and give you another chance because you've already built up this strong reputation with them.
Yeah. And then your guys won't let you fail either. If they see like, hey, we're not going to make our, you know, stacking the boxes, we're not going to make it in time. Well, hey, you know, let's work on something, you know, let's work extra hard. Let's, you know, work, you know, a little bit longer for our boss, you know, and it's okay. You know, so if the soldiers see you or your workers see you, you know, giving 110% effort for them, their output will be 110% for you.
Yeah. Beautiful. What do you think about discipline?
I think it's mandatory to have throughout your whole life.
Discipline is mandatory.
It's mandatory. You got to.
It might be the title of this episode.
You know, you got to have discipline when you first wake up. You know, so like Professor Ricardo, he asked me, and Evelyn asked me, you know, what do you do to be so disciplined to wake up and go to the gym every day then you come to jiu-jitsu, you work out, you work hard, and you do it every day. And, I tell them that, I wake up, before I go to bed, I fold my clothes and I say something nice about it.
About your clothes?
About my clothes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my favorite Ranger t-shirt, or, it's my favorite jiu-jitsu shirt. Fold it up. Okay, I'm going to look really good in it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my favorite shorts. It's leg day. So here you go. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to look good when I wake up and put this on. I'm going to feel really good. I can't wait to get to the gym to work out in these.
Wow.
Then when I wake up, all those emotions and everything's attached to that. So now when I wake up at 5:45 and I look at my clothes, I'm going to look good. That's what put my shirt on, put my shorts on. Okay, I feel good.
Yeah.
Because because there is, mentally I put something good to it.
Right.
Not the, oh my gosh, I got to do this again. I got to, drag myself up. I'm going to be so sore. But no, versus, I'm going to look so good. I can't wait to get there. I'm attaching kind of a motivation to that.
Right.
And that helps me out. That's how I get through the workout. That's how I get through almost my daily, that, okay, here's my favorite gi, and okay, I'm going to wear this one.
Nice gis though.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to keep up with Nancy, so.
Oh, she's got fresh ones too.
Yeah.
But also by putting on your clothes in the morning, the night before, you're creating less friction.
Yes.
So there's one less step you have to do to actually get to the gym.
Absolutely.
All you have to do now is put on those clothes.
Yep, put on those clothes.
Look for them. You don't have to find them. You don't know, what am I going to wear? Are my clothes in the wash? Are they dirty? Okay, they're dirty. I'm just going to go back to bed.
Right. And I think that goes back to being in the military, that, hey, we have our uniforms. You have your uniform pressed, ready to go. You always hang it up. So that way you know where it's at. Okay, hey, I'm waking up, I have PT, and then I may have to wear, a certain uniform for that day. I already have that prepped. So I already know exactly where to go. It's already done, and there's no thinking really about it. And I just kind of converted that back over to what I do now. Okay, hey, I have my gym time. I have gis for this gym. I have gis for this gym. I have a gi for open mats or whatever. Then I have the gi for that. So I already set myself up for success.
And now, what about on the days where you're just not feeling it? Are there days like that for you?
I have a lot of them.
How do you still get up and get at them?
I just tell myself I have to be better. I have to. Somebody else is doing it. Why can't I? Am I dead yet? No, I'm not. I can still move. Go. And even though some days, I pack my bag and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I can't believe I'm doing this. We're going to go do this. And I throw my bag on and I leave. And I go out the door. And it is okay to accept that I don't want to do this. But I am also telling myself I'm going to go do this. I'm physically going to go do this.
Right.
It is okay to be not wanting to sometimes. But I'm going to go do it. I'm going to beat that doubt.
Right.
I'm going to take that doubt and hey, you're sore. Be comfortable. Take a hot shower versus a cold shower. It's okay. No, it's not. It's okay. Be uncomfortable. Continue to move forward.
You're manually creating that activation energy.
Yeah.
Because we know that feelings follow behavior, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
So, and motivation is just like a fleeting, dying emotion that we can't rely on.
Roger.
Some days I feel fired up. Wake up and I'm like, let's go, baby.
Yeah, that's time. Let's go.
That's like once every 30 days.
Yeah.
So if I just waited for that day to do any of my work, to run any of my businesses, they would be failing and I'd probably be homeless.
Yeah, absolutely.
But since I know what my North Star is, which whatever it is, for you, for anyone, you have to know what that North Star is. So on the days where you don't feel motivated, which is the majority of them, you've created a set of discipline, which is mandatory, right? You have a set of routines like you do, close out. What am I going to say to myself? How do I keep myself going even when I don't feel like it? All of those things are much more important than just relying on this idea of motivation.
Yeah.
As Jocko would say, I don't know if you listen to Jocko.
Once in a while.
But he says, discipline eats motivation for breakfast.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you like Jocko?
I do. I like listening to some of his stuff.
You listen to his pod?
Once in a while.
They're long ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He seems pretty awesome, yeah. Loves jiu-jitsu and talks about the discipline.
Absolutely.
And extreme ownership. I mean, come on.
Nothing better.
Beautiful. What else? Anything else that you've learned over the years that you feel like is important to share? Adaptability, discipline, the leadership skills.
And just staying focused. Just what is your 25-meter targets? What is your thing that you can accomplish right now at that moment? Not having your 300-meter target, is that year range. Okay, if my 300-meter target is my year goal to get something accomplished, but what is my 25 meters? What is the one that's in right now? Is it making my bed? Is it putting my dishes away? Is it studying for a test? What is that short little goal that's right in front of you? Accomplish that. Don't be like, that's, I'll accomplish that here later, kind of push it to the side, and try going to the next step. Accomplish that first goal. I think it was on, there was an admiral that said, the first thing you do is wake up, make your bed. That first little task. So if that's your 25-meter target, then you completed that first task of the day. Now what's your next one? Complete that. Don't go to your next step. Complete your minor task to complete your major task.
Right.
And I think prioritizing your, we call it prioritizing work. Your first thing that we do, is security. Make sure security's set up before you go to sleep. Make sure you eat before you go to sleep. Make sure you do hygiene before you go to sleep. I think a lot of people, may skip, a couple steps and then go straight to bed. Whether you're prepping for tomorrow, whether you're food prepping, whether you're washing clothes, washing your dishes. Some people may just skip some of that, skip all the priorities of work and just go straight to bed because that's where they're comfortable. Don't skip. Maintain your discipline and knock out those little minor targets that you have. So that way when you lay your head down at night, you feel accomplished. So I know sometimes when I do not accomplish things, it weighs on me at night. It's hard for me to go to sleep. Like, I did not complete that task. I didn't prep for this. Well, I'm gonna have to make up for it somewhere down the road. Do I have to wake up extra early now to make sure I do X, Y, Z, or is it gonna cut into my afternoon nap after 3 classes of jiu-jitsu? So somewhere down the line, I'm gonna have to make up for that. So just make sure that you have your priorities of work set.
Yeah.
And your discipline. Beautiful.
Because those little tasks and those little wins, they add up to an unbelievable amount of difference.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that might be your end goal, is to knock those little tasks. Once you're done with those goals, that might be your end goal.
Right.
So it may add up to something. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Outside of doing jiu-jitsu, is there anything else that you do for your mental health or your behavioral health? No. Right now it's just jiu-jitsu. That's my outlet. It's been my outlet since 2005. And yeah, it works well for you. It does. Yeah, it does. So, and I know you're trying to do now some jiu-jitsu tournaments. Yes. What's the preparation for that different from an MMA tournament? And when's the next one that you're trying to compete in? So the next one would be ADCC in June here in Dallas, the ADCC Open. That's a big one, right? ADCC? Yeah. So I did the one in Vegas. I thought my prepping was good. I just lost by 2 points. But it's okay. I learned from it. I want to go back and do it again. It's going to start ramping up here in March. I'll take Mondays off so I can go train at various gyms to start getting ready, work with different coaches, work with Igor at Soul Fighters, work with Carlos Delino down in BTT, down in Irving. So just get a variety of outlooks, because everybody's jiu-jitsu is different. Right. Get a different outlook from everything to start prepping for it. So I don't know what I'm going to step into on the mats there, so I got to be prepared for everything, but also get my game down too. Yeah. So, are you trying to, for this sort of high level that jiu-jitsu that you're doing, are you trying to get really good at 1 or 2 specific things, or are you trying to broaden your whole game? I think broadening the game to where it's not an overload. Also know my game, make sure I have my game down, but also broaden it to where I can defend things. So you're not unfamiliar with certain things. Yeah, I might not know, exactly, all the pieces, how it goes together, but at least I know how 1 or 2 pieces, how to get out or identify what's about to happen, so I can be 2 steps ahead. So that way my game can take over and play. And that's the benefit of working with a bunch of different coaches, because they each have a strong portion of their game that you're trying to learn.
You know, they may look at something totally different, and now, you know, it's like, okay, I didn't think of it that way, you know? Or, you know, hey, if they do this, you know, hey, step around, go to the back this way. So it's just different ways to look at things and different ways to better myself and creative thinking.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
I have two more questions for you.
All right.
One is, what did it feel like? Because I was very new to the gym when you earned your black belt.
Yes.
And I know you've been doing jiu-jitsu now almost 18 years?
Almost, yeah. September of 18.
What is that? What does that feel like? 18 years of hard work, grind, sweat, and someone like Ricardo gives you your black belt.
I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
It's not that you made it to the top.
Right.
It's now that I earned it, but now it's like I'm seeing things new now. Different limelight, different things. So it's kind of like learning all over again. So it's really interesting. It's, you know, it was motivating, but also very humbling at the same time.
Yeah.
But even though it's the black belt, but you still haven't really started learning yet.
Right.
You just started having fun. And everything starts, you know, meshing together. It starts, you know, it becomes kind of playing. But it was an honor to, you know, to be promoted by Ricardo and be part of his lineage, and then pass it down the line.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it's an honor to have you as my professor too.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, last question.
All right.
Very important. If you, Anthony, were going to put a billboard up and millions of people were going to see that billboard every single day, what would you put on it?
I think I put give 110% and then some.
Give 110% and then some.
You could always give more. Always give more.
Even if it's just a little tiny bit.
Just a little bit. In the Ranger community, you know, we say 110% and then some. You give it everything you've got. And, you know, if it's just one step forward, if it's, you know, doing the bear crawls, if it's just one step forward, then rest. If it's just one more, can I, you know, do one more thing better? And just drive, just continue. Don't let nothing stop you. Just 110%. Give it everything you have, whatever it is. If it's grocery shopping, if it's your day-to-day work, if it's filing papers, do it to your best of your ability.
Yeah.
Give everything you have. Because that way, when you give it 110%, now your new 110% is going to be something totally different. Because you went past it.
Yes.
Because you gave it all. Okay, hey, I didn't die. I woke up the next morning. I can give more now. Now you're giving 110% more that next day. And I believe it just continues to go drive forward.
Yeah. It compounds and aggregates over time.
Absolutely.
100%.
Give it everything you got.
Beautiful.
Don't fail.
Yeah.
And if you fail, learn from it. Reset. Give it 110% again.
Right. Anything else? Last minute thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, final notes, anecdotes, shout outs?
Oh man. Whew. No, hey, just give it everything you have. If you need help, reach out. I know I just had Ranger. I wasn't familiar with him, but I know he just took his life. My Ranger buddy, I think 4 months ago, took his life. Never feel that you're alone. There's always people out there with an ear. You know, it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to cry. Whether it's, you know, something that happened or you just may need to cry. You know, just don't think you're less of a person or you're less of a man or anything like that, because sometimes, you know, letting that out helps you cleanse everything, and you know, you look at, you know, your next day better. You know, and people are there for you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I couldn't have said that any better or ended this episode in a better way.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Professor.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Yep.
And thanks for everyone for listening or watching. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to that episode. If you enjoyed it, click here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love.